You are standing in the doorway of your kitchen, and you have no idea why. A second ago, you were certain. You stood up from the couch with a clear mission burning in your mind. You walked with purpose. And now you are here, staring at the fridge, at the counter, at the empty air, and the reason has simply evaporated. You laugh it off. You blame it on being tired. You blame it on your age, or your phone, or the fact that you never sleep enough. But the real answer is far stranger than a tired brain. What just happened to you is not a glitch. It is not decay. It is one of the most sophisticated things your mind does all day, working exactly as designed. You just walked through a doorway. That sounds like a joke. It is not. Scientists have a name for this exact moment, and they can produce it on demand in a laboratory. They call it the doorway effect, and once you understand it, you will never think about forgetting the same way again. Let us start with what your memory actually is. You imagine memory as a warehouse, a vast room full of shelves where every fact and every intention sits in a labeled box, waiting for you to walk over and pick it up. Lose something, and you assume the box fell behind a shelf. But that is not how it works at all. Your memory is not a warehouse. It is more like a river. Information does not sit still. It flows. It changes shape, and most of it is held only for a few seconds in a fragile, flickering state before it either hardens into something lasting or washes away completely. The thought, "Go get my phone charger," is not a solid object. It is a ripple, and ripples are easy to lose. The part of your mind holding that ripple is called working memory. Think of it as the tiny desk at the front of your mind where you do all your active thinking. The problem is the desk is astonishingly small. The psychologist Nelson Cowan spent years measuring it, and his conclusion was humbling. Your working memory can hold only about 4 things at once. Not 400, not 40, 4. That is the entire workspace you have for conscious thought in any given moment. There is more to that desk than size. The British psychologist Alan Baddeley spent his career mapping how it works, and he found that holding a thought in mind is not passive at all. It takes constant effort. A small mental voice inside your head has to keep repeating the intention, quietly rehearsing it, or it fades within seconds. Stop rehearsing for even a moment, let something else grab the microphone, and the thought is gone. Your intention to fetch the charger is not stored. It is being actively whispered over and over, and that whisper is fragile. So your mind is constantly, ruthlessly deciding what to keep on that desk and what to sweep off. It cannot afford to hold on to anything longer than it must. The moment something seems finished, it clears the space. This is not a weakness. A brain that remembered everything would drown. Now here is where the doorway comes in. In 2011, a psychologist at the University of Notre Dame named Gabriel Radvansky ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to matter. He had people move through a virtual environment on a screen, picking up objects and carrying them from one place to another. Sometimes they carried an object across a large room. Sometimes they carried it the exact same distance, but through a doorway into a new room. Then he tested how well they remembered what they were carrying. The result was clear and strange. People who passed through a doorway forgot significantly more than people who traveled the same distance in one room. The distance did not matter. The effort did not matter. The doorway mattered. So Radvansky pushed further. Maybe, he thought, this was just about the new room being distracting. So he had people walk through a doorway and then return to the very room they started in. Same familiar place, same objects. And still, their memory got worse. The simple act of crossing the threshold and then crossing back was enough to blur what they had been holding in mind. Why would a doorway do that? Why would a plain rectangle of empty space reach into your head and wipe the desk clean? To answer that, you have to understand how your brain slices up your life. You feel like you experience time as one smooth, continuous stream. You do not. Your mind is quietly chopping your entire existence into chunks, and it does this without ever asking your permission. This is the work of a researcher named Jeffrey Sachs at Washington University in St. Louis, who built what is now called event segmentation theory. Sachs discovered that your brain is constantly drawing invisible lines through your day, marking where one event ends and the next begins. Making coffee is an event. Answering the door is an event. Walking into the kitchen is an event. Your brain files each one as its own separate mental package, complete with its own little folder of relevant information. And at the edge of every event, your brain does something specific. It creates what Sachs calls an event boundary, a moment where it decides the previous chapter is over, closes the folder, and opens a fresh one for whatever comes next. A doorway is one of the most powerful event boundaries there is. When you step through it, your brain reads the change in scenery as a signal. Old event, done. New event, beginning. And so it politely files away everything from the previous room, including the thought you were carrying, and clears the desk to make room for whatever this new space demands. The intention did not vanish because your mind failed. It vanished because your mind succeeded at its job of tidying up, at the worst possible moment. Your body doesn't know the difference between a doorway that matters and a doorway that doesn't. It treats them all the same. Cross a threshold, close the chapter. It is an ancient reflex running on modern floor plans. And it is not only doorways. Think about the last time you were talking with someone, mid-sentence, full of a point you were desperate to make, and then someone interrupted, and the point was simply gone. Same mechanism. The interruption was an event boundary. Your brain closed the folder. Think about walking out of a shop and immediately forgetting whether you locked your car. Think about how a story you are about to tell dissolves the instant the conversation changes topic. These are not separate failures. They are all the same quiet reflex, firing at the edge of one moment and the start of another. There is even evidence that bigger boundaries cause bigger forgetting. Radvansky found that passing through several doorways in a row wiped out memory more thoroughly than passing through one. The more chapters your brain closes, the further away the old information drifts. This is why walking all the way across your house to fetch something is so treacherous. You are not just covering distance. You are passing through boundary after boundary, and each one asks your brain, "Are you still holding that thing?" And each time, a little more of it slips. So why did evolution build you this way? Why would a mind so brilliant be so willing to drop a thought you needed only 3 seconds ago? Because for almost all of human history, this system was a gift. Your ancestors did not need to carry a single fixed intention across a whole landscape. They needed to respond to each place as it came. Walk into a clearing, and what matters is the clearing, the sounds, the movement in the grass, the threat or the food right in front of you. Dragging the mental contents of the last valley into this one would have been dangerous. A mind that resets at every boundary is a mind that stays alert to wherever it actually is. The forgetting is the price of presence. Your brain was optimized for a world of forests and thresholds of danger, not a world of kitchens and phone chargers. It is doing exactly what kept your ancestors alive. It just looks like absent-mindedness when the only predator in the room is a forgotten grocery list. Consider what the alternative would have cost them. Imagine an ancestor who could not let go, who carried the full mental weight of the last riverbank into the next one, every detail still crowding the desk, refusing to clear. That person walks into a new clearing already full, already distracted, still chewing on a moment that no longer exists. They do not see the snake. They do not hear the shift in the grass. In a world where each new place could kill you, a mind that clung to the last place was a mind that did not last. The ones who survived to become you were the ones who could drop everything in an instant and belong completely to wherever they now stood. You did not inherit a flaw. You inherited the reflex of the survivors. That is the deep twist buried inside your embarrassment. The very forgetting you curse in the doorway is the descendant of the thing that kept your bloodline alive across 100,000 years of dangerous thresholds. And here is the part that should quietly change how you treat yourself. When you blank in that doorway, you have been telling yourself a story about decline. My memory is going. My focus is shot. But you are not broken. You are watching a finely tuned survival system do the one thing it was built to do, which is let go of the past so you can meet the present. The lapse you have been ashamed of is a signature of a healthy, efficient mind. So what do you do about it? You cannot switch off event boundaries, but you can outsmart them. If you say the intention out loud as you walk, charger, 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 you keep the ripple alive across the threshold. If you carry a physical reminder or picture the object vividly before you move, you give the memory a second anchor that survives the boundary. And if you do blank, the fastest cure is often to walk back through the doorway you came from. Return to the original room, reopen the original folder, and the thought frequently comes flooding back. You are not searching your memory. You are recreating the event that held it. Tonight or tomorrow, it will happen again. You will rise with a mission and arrive somewhere blank. And now, standing in that doorway with no idea why, you will finally know the truth. Nothing is wrong with you. Your mind simply turned the page, exactly as it was built to, and for one perfect ancient reason, it decided that where you are now matters more than where you have just been.